Back to the press conference. Look, I think the first question in regards to the downstream processing, we've got a commitment through our agreement to complete a feasibility study for a potential pelletisation plant into the future. We're committed to completing that feasibility study, and through that study we'll be assessing the viability and options for that to move forward. So that's a commitment that we have, and we're fulfilling that commitment. From a taxation perspective, all I would say on the taxation piece is we do publish our tax regime, and we will be publishing the amount of tax that we pay here in country. I don't have a particular comment in regards to how our tax relates to others. I think just suffice to say that we publish our regime, and we will be publishing the amount of tax that we pay to cover off on that. I think the third question was in regards to community investment. I believe that was around community investment.
No, compensation.
Oh, the compensation?
Compensation policy.
So the land acquisition?
Yes.
Yeah, no, we have a very comprehensive program for land acquisition, and then followed with livelihood restoration. So from a land acquisition perspective, we've completed, in fact, I think all of the land acquisition process has now been completed across the mine, the rail and the port. We're now moving into a phase of livelihood restoration, where we work with those impacted communities to ensure that their livelihoods are restored to the level at which they were before we've made an impact. That program will continue for the next few years.
Good.
Now in the final stretch of 2025, and I'm proud to say that the SIMFA team, alongside our partners, have made remarkable progress. Thanks to the rigorous management and commitment of our teams, and in particular through a very bad wet season, we've continued to see continued performance in this last quarter. The laying of 72 kilometres of rail or track from our rail spur from the mine connecting to the main rail line in the junction near Krawani is now complete, marking a now unique connection between our mine site all the way to the port. It's a fantastic achievement for the project. In addition, the civil engineering work and structural work continues at the port, and our transshipment vessel wharf structure is ready for the installation of conveyor. From the mine site, work also continues to progress at a very good pace, with the standing of steel on many of our infrastructure, now visually being able to see how the material will move from the top of the mountain to the bottom of the mountain, to the rail and then to the port. It's a fantastic time. We're proud of the momentum that we've built, not only in terms of infrastructure, but also in how we are shaping a project that reflects the values and aspirations of Guinea. We're continuing to work hand in hand with the Guinea government, local businesses, civil society, communities, all to ensure that Simandou is not just a mining project, but it's a catalyst for inclusive development. Our initiatives are designed to leave a lasting legacy, one that goes beyond the life of the mine and contributes meaningfully to the well-being of future generations. As we move forward, we remain focused on delivering Simandou safely, responsibly and to the highest international standards. We thank you for your continued support and interest in the Simandou project, and now of course we welcome your many questions. Thank you, merci.
Chris, comme Chris l'a présenté, on a une obligation de conduire une étude de faisabilité d'une... on m'entend pas? Une étude de faisabilité de la raffinerie, soit une usine de pelletisation ou une usine d'acier. Donc cette étude est une obligation pour nous. On va, comme Chris l'a dit, sur les autres milestones du projet, nous assurer que cette étude est conduite et les résultats présentés au gouvernement. C'est sur la base de cette étude que la décision sera prise pour voir quelle est l'option la plus viable. Merci.
Very good question, and I think, so I'll wait for you. So very good question, and I really appreciate that question in relation to the fatality. The way I'd answer that is with the passing of our colleague on the mine site of the 22nd of August, in addition to all of the incidents that occur across our mine, our rail and our port works, we lead with investigations to fully understand what were the root causes. So what are the drivers that led to that incident and in this regard it was that amounted to a fatal outcome. We take that investigation process very, very seriously. Our first priority, however, is the care for the family and ensuring that the family, the community are very well cared for in regards to the impact that such a loss will have on them immediately. So a lot of focus immediately on the family and making sure that we have the right level of support there. We then go into an investigation process, and in this regard we bring in independent experts from outside of Simandou to be able to investigate the causes of the incident so that we can understand and we can learn as an organisation and we can get better as an organisation. And then those learnings we distribute across all of Rio Tinto globally, because quite often there's things that we learn as a result of any of our incidents within Rio Tinto that we have to do better in. So we take those learnings and we make improvements. We'll also be sharing the outcomes of the investigation with the relevant ministry and hope that that would also drive the change in the broader mining industry within Guinea.
Je pense qu'il faut donner une clarification sur les informations qui circulent sur le régime fiscal. Comme tout projet dans le monde et en Guinée, la Guinée ne fait pas exception, on négocie les conventions. Donc il y a le droit général et il y a les accords qui sont consignés dans une convention. Notre convention, on a eu des discussions sur le régime fiscal. C'est pourquoi mon collègue dit notre convention est publiée, le régime fiscal est disponible. Rio Tinto est très transparent sur ce que nous payons en termes d'impôts, pas seulement en Guinée, mais partout où nous opérons. Donc c'est clair que non seulement le régime fiscal est publié, qui est l'accord avec le gouvernement, mais aussi, à travers, quand on va commencer les opérations, vous pouvez voir dans les détails ce que nous payons. Même en phase de construction, ceux-ci sont publiés. Donc c'est accessible. Ça va?
I don't recall at the last conference that we would have said at the end of September we'd be moving first ore. I don't think we've ever stated that, so that might have been an erroneous number. What I would say is that the progress of all of the infrastructure is travelling to plan. We have an expectation that around the month of November we'll start to see a commissioning activity commencing, which will see the movement of material across the whole value chain. So material of movement from the mine, across the rail and then into the port, remembering that we need to start commissioning all of the pieces of infrastructure to enable that system to work. We're very much on track for that to commence in and around the month of November. Globalisation is probably one of our biggest risks that all industrial partners have to work through with the construction of Simandou. We know that the Simandou workforce, not just from a SIMFA perspective, but also our industrial partners, is quite a large workforce required to build this project in the time frame in which we're building it. We know that that's a typical thing that we work through with construction, where you have a very high workforce and that workforce then settles down into an ongoing operational workforce. One of the things that we do at SIMFA, and we take great pride in, is that we continue to build and support the capability uplift of anyone who's working within our project. And so if I think about our workforce, there's just over 80% of our workforce is Ghanaian, and around 70% of the workforce, particularly at the mine and the work areas, is being sourced from the local communities. It's really important that we continue to grow that capability, give them skills, exposure to enable them to be able to use those skills when they go to their next job, their next project. Given that, we obviously, if you've got such a large workforce, bringing everyone into your operational setting is very, very difficult. So what we do is not only support the development of capability, make sure there's skills that they are able to take away from the work that they've done with us with SIMFA, but we also work with the government and the various agencies to try and develop pathways to other projects that may be going on in the country. So there's a lot of engagement with government, in particular in regards to the initiatives around Simandou 2040, what projects are on the government's horizon that will need workforce, will need people to be able to build, to develop those projects. And we work with those agencies on developing, well, we've got a workforce that's now been trained, we've got a workforce that's absolutely delivered to an international standard. How better can we utilise this workforce for the Greater Guinea? And so we do that by, absolutely working through a register of all of those employees for the various contractors, understanding their skill sets, what their capabilities are, and providing that information into those environments with the hope that they are able to be employed by others. So there's a few things that we do to try and manage that demobilisation risk the best we can. It is a great risk that we're working through, and it's something that absolutely occupies us on a continued basis to ensure that we don't have a negative impact any more than what already happens as a result of that workforce diminishing.
Partenaire industriel dans Simfer Winning. Ce groupe a été mis en place depuis quelques mois déjà. La semaine dernière, il y a eu un atelier facilité par KPMG à Conférence pour un atelier technique pour regarder le profit des travailleurs à démobiliser et la stratégie pour l'État à mettre en place pour assurer que non seulement le personnel affecté est remobilisé, mais aussi les équipements. Parce que quand on regarde l'amplitude des travaux sur les infrastructures, on a beaucoup de sous-traitants qui ont des équipements adéquats pour conduire d'autres travaux en Guinée. Donc, le gouvernement estime que plutôt de regarder ça de manière négative, on va remobiliser et les travailleurs et ses sous-traitants pour d'autres projets en Guinée. Donc pour eux, nous parlons de démobilisation, eux ils parlent de remobilisation. Maintenant, bien entendu, toutes les personnes qui ont travaillé chez nous ont été formées, ont acquis des savoir-faire, qu'ils soient dans ces projets ou qu'ils s'installent à leur propre compte pour leur propre projet. Je pense qu'on a contribué d'une certaine façon à élever le niveau de capacité de ces personnes-là. Je pense aussi, et ça c'est mon espoir en tant que Guinéen, que des gens qui ont travaillé durant la construction, pas seulement les skills, qu'ils vont être des futurs entrepreneurs. Ils ont compris comment on fait les rails, comment on fait les contrôles qualité des ouvrages durables. Ils peuvent aussi créer des entreprises de sous-traitance pour maximiser leurs revenus et être des employeurs de demain. J'ai cet espoir-là en tant que Guinéen et notre équipe travaille aussi sur des projets communautaires pour assurer que les communautés ne soient pas affectées par cette démobilisation. Parce que si vous avez des gens qui ont des revenus, qui vivent dans des communautés qui n'ont pas de revenus du jour au lendemain, c'est l'ensemble de la communauté qui peut être affecté. Donc nous faisons des investissements dans ces communautés pour assurer que cette transition n'ait pas un impact négatif sur l'ensemble de l'équilibre de l'écosystème social.
Look, I think our focus, so from a risk perspective, so what are the difficulties? Clearly we're moving towards a milestone towards the end of this year that all industrial partners are on track with, and so at any particular time there's always things that need to be worked through around construction, so construction related issues. I think one of the complexities for Simandou as we move to the end of the year into next year is the operisation of Simandou, so the network coming alive. So we're moving from a construction phase into an operating phase where we'll start to have rail operating, we'll start to have port operating, and that brings with it a new sense of complexities, in particular with respect to the communities along that rail line. So there's a lot of work that we need to do, that we are starting to do, but a lot of work we need to do to ensure that the communities that actually sit along that rail system are very aware of the fact that that rail is about to come to life, that we're about to have locomotives and trains operating on that rail. So from a safety perspective, from a community awareness perspective, it's really, really important that we work with them so that they get an understanding of that's about to happen and the risk is about to increase. I think in general, and the question was around our community engagement, and I think our relationship with the communities is always improving. I think we do a lot of work within the communities to assess our own performance. So we ask the communities a lot in regards to how they think we're performing. We have very open dialogue around grievance mechanisms, so that when the community feels aggrieved as a result of an action that we've taken, there's an open policy where they can report that grievance to us, and we must respond to that, and we do respond to that, and quite often then engage the community in what we've done to try and resolve that issue. With the rail, so I'll comment on the rail spur in particular. That's something that I'm very, very close to. So I believe the question was around environmental controls that are being applied to the rail to protect the environment, particularly through the wet season. What you'll see now, if you have the ability to see, I'm not sure whether it's on any of the photos, but we do a lot of embankment control to eliminate erosion and control the runoff so that water isn't being dispersed back into water sources and streams in a contaminated manner. We control the water, collect the water to ensure we can drop sediment out of that water, so therefore the water is as clean as possible before it enters into an existing water system, be that a creek, a river or something like that. So there's a lot of, on the open embankments, there's a lot of drainage being installed, embankment control being installed, but again, a lot of hydroseeding. So there's a process that we use, and we call it hydroseeding. I'm not sure if that resonates or translates well, but we work with communities to collect grass seed, and we apply that grass seed and we spray it en masse on all of the areas that we've opened up. So through construction, you're obviously opening up a lot of, you're clearing trees and grasses, so all the things that normally contain sediment runoff are now exposed, and very quickly we work to hydroseed those, to plant grass, to plant tree species, to enable those areas to be consolidated once again and control erosion, control sediment runoff. So there's a program of work that we invest in on a continued basis to ensure we don't expose too much open earth, because that's when we start having issues around erosion issues and sediment movement into the water sources. So along the whole rail, there is areas of embankment control, hydroseeding, but also culverts that have been constructed under the rail to enable water to flow from one side of the rail to another. So as an example, on the rail spur, so the rail spur that Simfa is just building, we've built 133 culverts which enable natural water flow to pass under the rail. The project in execution and construction is you're building something for the very first time. And as you're building something for the very first time, when you put that into operation, when you push the start button, essentially things can go wrong. Machinery breaks down, some of the infrastructure needs to be rebuilt for various reasons. So we call that the commissioning process, and the commissioning process we anticipate to take months. So the commissioning process can take months to ensure that we have a system which is then able to be put into operation. So articulating an exact date for when we go into an operation is an incredibly difficult thing, because we don't know yet. The infrastructure is not fully built. Once we fully build the infrastructure, we commission, then we'll be absolutely making a public declaration of we're about to start the operation, but I can't tell you now when we're going to exactly start. I can tell you that from a construction perspective, we're nearing the end of construction. In fact, we're travelling to plan, and we'll start a commissioning process, of which when that commissioning process is finished, we'll then be able to declare that we move into operation. So it's very hard to articulate an exact date. I think on your first question around numbers of people impacted, I probably don't have a number exactly now that I could provide, but I believe in our various publications. Yeah, sorry?
It's very small people.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the translation is a real.
Yeah, it's the